espero que nadie se ofenda, pero hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Balcão da área, deu para Yerem Chuk, cruzou Gilberto, que confusão, vai ser o primeiro, tirou para dentro! Marca Darwin, é Benfica, é Benfica, é Benfica! Ele vai atirar! Absolutamente fenomenal da parte de Otamendi, vai errar, fez o alto para o golo, a chapelada, tirou para dentro! Voltava o golo do Ribatejano, é Benfica, é Benfica, é Benfica!
Só nós sentimos isso.
Welcome, episode 92 from Tondela to Istanbul. Today with me, I have Phil, Kenny, Cantinho number 1. Gentlemen, how are we?
Hey, boys.
Very good. How you doing, guys?
Good so far. Jay may join us, but if not, it'll be the four of us for now. We have quite a few things to talk about. Benfica 1, Gil Vicente 2. Not much to talk about in that game. So we'll touch on that one quickly. We will also talk about Rui Costa's statement after the game. Tondela 1, Benfica 3. For the first time that I can remember in a long time, a 90 minutes where we didn't have our heart in our hand, although the last 30 minutes weren't that great. We'll talk about a big move that was official today. Pizzi has made his way to Istanbul on a loan for 6 months. We'll talk about that. If you guys think that it was a good move for him, if it was a good move for the club, what do we think will come of that?
What are you talking about? He's here with us today. He's Aldino in the building.
Right there, dude.
And then we'll give our predictions for Benfica Santa Clara at the weekend.
Oscar's already pre-ordered the jersey.
Oh, yeah, it's already on its way. For
I
those
have to learn how to pronounce the name first. Of the team.
For those of you in the chat, join the conversation, leave your thoughts, leave your feedback, leave your questions. Also, hit the share button, share this live, see if we can get a few more people in here. For those of you who are listening after the fact on the audio version, tell a friend, share, repost it, retweet it. It goes a long way. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us grow our following. Para a malta que esteja a ver em português, estão à vontade de deixar os vossos comentários, as vossas questões, podem deixar as vossas opiniões no chat. Todos nós percebemos, poderemos abordar os vossos comentários. Amanhã temos o podcast em português com um painel diferente, por isso estejam atentos amanhã às 20h30, mas para já podem participar aqui na nossa conversa, apesar da conversa ser em inglês. Let's start with... Actually, before we start, I wanted to say congratulations to the Portugal Euro champions, or the European champions of futsal men. Another European title. It was an impressive game. I don't know if you guys watched it. I think most of you did. But good comeback, especially after coming back in the game before that as well. And then
Spain and Russia, both games, 2-0.
And then they come back from that crazy ending. So hats off to them.
3 titles in a row.
Seriously.
Nice
So now
run.
see if they can get the World Cup 2 in a row. We'll see. So wanted to start off with hats off to them. Benfica 1, Gil Vicente 2. Game last week. A terrible performance. There's not much to say about this game. I mean, the performance was terrible. The fans at the end made themselves heard. They voiced their opinions towards Rui Costa. who's the obvious target, given that he's the new president. And on all fairness, right? People have their right to their opinion, right to contest. The team's not playing well, completely understandable. Whether the contesting of the situation should be done a certain way, that's indifferent, right? But us as fans, we have to be able to criticize when things aren't going well, and we should be able to say things are going well or applaud when things are going well. So get your thoughts on that. But in terms of the game, and I'll open it up to you guys if there's anything else that you want to add, but we started with a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, or however you want to look at it. We had Vlaco Dimas in the net, Grimaldo, Vertonghen, Otamendi, and Almeida gets a start, which completely threw me off. Everton, Paulo Bernardo, Weigl, Maite, Diogo Gonçalves, and Gonçalo Ramos. Against the Gil Vicente team that's been playing well. They beat us at home last year. They beat us at home again this year. The team just looked completely uninterested, completely disconnected. Every time I see performance like that, it brings me back to Kenny saying we have a bunch of individuals on the field and not a team. And I think that performance, air quotes, summed that up. Like, that was an exact replica of what Kenny had said. Oscar, I'll start with you. Anything that you want to add to the game, apart that it was terrible? And the only thing that I really highlighted about the game itself was that atrocious call by Artur Suarez Diaz in the first half, which I'm still scratching my head as to what the hell he saw.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we started the game, obviously we scoring on the first 6 minutes. I think 6 minutes in, we scored that goal. And then that's
João said he was going to come in and help back you up, Oscar. So.
That's right. Yeah, so we started off the game and we scored that goal. And the team that we have now is not a team that breeds confidence. So just getting that goal called back, it threw us all off. And from there on, we could never recover. Like, then they scored right after, like, the first goal. And then it looks like we all lost the whole game. We don't, like you said, we don't have a team. We have individuals. In this game, we had nothing. You didn't have any individuals stepping up, right? So it was just a bad game. And the ref, I don't know if there's even an explanation to calling that goal off or calling the goal back. So there's no explanation. I think we'll get into Rui Costa after, but I think his speech was perfect for this game.
Kenny, anything you want to add? And in terms of that goal, I know a lot of people said the goal was in the 4th minute, right? There's no excuse, blah, blah, blah. And I get that. And let me bring Jay in here. Welcome, Jay.
Oh, God.
Oscar thought he was off the hook.
No, guys.
So, Kenny, in terms of that goal, right? And I believe Jay had messaged it to me as well about, right, the goal was taken away early. There was still a lot of game left to be played. There's no excuse. And I get that. But do you get the sense of, one, this team clearly has a clear lack of confidence, belief in themselves, belief in their teammates, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like every time there could be something that goes wrong, it goes wrong, right? So when you don't have confidence and things aren't going well, like, everything doesn't go well,
yeah,
and
it
like completely deflates you.
No, yeah, it completely snowballs, and you could totally see it. I mean, for me, that second half was one of the worst halves of soccer I've seen all season, probably in the last few years. I mean, just uncharacteristic ways of giving away the ball. I mean, there was just like passes that were going nowhere. I mean, just it just didn't make any sense. So yeah, I think we are in a rut, obviously, and I believe that you got to fall hard before you can rise up again. And I think we're going in that direction, right? So there's really not much to say in regards to the game. The goal, I mean, I agree. I think there's got to, I mean, the goal that was disallowed. I think this is what one of the things Rui Costa kind of touched on. There's got to be some sort of transparency or communication after the game as to why the decision was made the way it was made. I mean, it makes no sense to me why that goal was disallowed. I mean, there's no like gray line there. I mean, that was for me a clear goal. This isn't like, it could have been a foul or couldn't, whatever, like going Borrauaki, or did he fake the fault? Like, this was clear as day goal that was disallowed, and there's no transparency as to why it was disallowed. And that's what burns me the most. So other than that, I mean, there's really nothing else to say about the game that we've been talking about in recent games. It's just poor performance after poor performance. And it really, when shit goes wrong, it really snowballs.
Bill, anything that you want to add in terms of the game and in terms of that goal that was not allowed? And to be correct, the goal wasn't not allowed. It was a foul that was called. He basically didn't give the chance, right? And
he called the foul, so VAR couldn't look at it.
Correct. So
yeah,
and
stupid.
And officials are told, let the play continue and then make the decision. And he let that happen on that penalty that would have been on Gonçalo Ramos, right? He let him run the whole length of the half, gets taken out, and then they call offsides, right? So it's like you can't have a different approach based on how you want, right? You can't blow the whistle straight away on a free kick that's played into the box and then let a offsides that was obvious run for 30, 40 yards, right? And in that play, he could have ended up getting hurt, right? The way the goalie tackled him. So anything that you want to add in regards to that? And I'll ask you this question. Were you surprised by the fact that Andre Almeida got the start, considering he hasn't played much? And I don't know if you saw it, but there was videos all over the internet about how Artur Soares Diaz beat Andre Almeida to our own box on that first goal.
You guys can't be serious about that, are you?
No,
I didn't even see that.
I'm just asking a question. I'm not being serious about it. I'm just asking a question.
I did see the video.
Yeah, I saw the video. It made no sense whatsoever.
Is that Almeida the new guy that you're going to stick up for now?
No, it's not. It made no sense. The guy's out of the play. He's not. He can sprint. He can sprint back as fast as he could. He can be Speedy Gonzalez and not get to that play.
I didn't see it.
That's stupid.
But if you have a video of it, I would love to see.
Yeah, go. It was written all over Twitter.
Bill, what do you have to add?
I mean, these guys have covered for the most part. I mean, the performance itself was horrible. Probably one of the worst I've seen in years. But I do think like that early goal changes things, right? Like you get a goal that quick, it changes the game, right? So you don't know what could happen after that. But the fact that we respond so poorly to like a call like that, and it kind of like kills the team that early in the game, I think says a lot about how much lack of confidence this team has. And it's sad to see because, I mean, that early, like there's still so much game left, right? You would think, all right, just blow it off. They fucked up. Let's move on. But I mean, it was bad. And you could tell because Vertonghen is one of those players that typically won't chirp at a ref too much. And
he was happy.
He was all over the ref for that. And I think that shows just like how tight that team is. They don't have any confidence. So something like that is just going to destroy them. And even though it was so early in the game.
He probably had the best chance of the game too.
Talking about
he had like two or three more that
he's talking almost coast to coast.
I know. Talking about Vertonghen, it looked like Pizzi over there playing. He's like, maybe I have to replace him.
It's funny because like the two plays I remember are the Vertonghen chance and then Otamendi too. It's like, and then Grimaldo shot, like literally the defenders are doing all the shooting on the net in that first half especially. So, I mean, just shambles.
Just for you guys to recap, I got the video here. And this is Andre Almeida here.
Okay. Now the ball, right there, he's already out of the play. Like, it could be speed as fast as you can. He's out of the play. Yeah, so why the fuck would they even bring that up? Well, we beat him to the box. He's out of the play from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I thought it was interesting that it was all over the internet. So Jay, anything that you want to add in regards to the terrible performance or that goal that was taken, or the foul that was called before the goal was allowed?
Well, regarding the foul, I think you guys pretty much all just touched base on it. I just thought that they should have had a VAR, but obviously they called the foul, so nothing you can do, I guess. Just another misjudgment, I guess, from the refs in our part. I feel like we've been getting some bad calls overall, but it's okay. Not really okay, but it sucks. I didn't really watch this game, to be honest. I was busy.
There wasn't much to watch.
And from what I was looking at like the on Twitter and just looking at everyone, just be like, wow, I was so happy I didn't watch this game because I probably would have flipped out, been upset. But I honestly have no opinion on this game. I saw that they lost, and it sucks. And I did see the replay of that supposed foul, but I didn't see anything. So that's just my opinion on it.
I'll move to the post match, right? So I remember telling you guys that after Benfica lost the Taça da Liga against Sporting, I felt that we were going to hit rock bottom. I thought this was our rock bottom. Fans at the end of the game telling Rui Costa vai para o caralho in the stadium. He ends up coming down to the locker room after the match. Nelson Verissimo didn't go to the flash interview. He was like an hour late to the press conference after the game. He spoke, and then Rui Costa came out half an hour, 45 minutes later. And really the scope of what he said was, I'm the number one responsible for the team not performing well. I'm the president. I'm here to show my face. We can't continue to allow what's happening to be done to us on the field, obviously in relation to the refs. This doesn't take away from the fact that the team's not playing well, but we can't allow this to continue to happen. I tried to take, a very neutral position with the federation, and, obviously that's not working. And he basically just kept reiterating that, and the fact that, there's things that we need to fix. I know what needs to be fixed. We need to change mentalities. We know we're working towards it, blah, blah, blah. I guess, Kenny, I'll start with you. Do you align with kind of what he came out and said? And I know a lot of people have complained because when he didn't come out, right, people were like, why isn't he coming out? Why aren't we saying something about the referees? Excuse me. And I was one of them, because typically we just send a newsletter out after every game, right? And cool, you send an email out that like 95% of the people probably don't read, right? You're not hitting the audience that needs to see it or hear it. But then when he does come out, people say, it's late, or he basically didn't say anything that was valuable. He should have been better off just shutting his mouth. And he's talking about the referees, but we play like shit, so the referees aren't an excuse. So it's like, you can't win.
Yeah, no, but I do understand why the fans would say that. I mean, not only did you have that issue with the disallowed goal, right? But you did have probably your worst performance of the year. So I understand why fans would feel that way. But I agree with what Rui Costa had to say. I mean, is it going to change anything? I don't know. I mean, what actually is going to change, right? I mean, is he going to just put in requests to the Federação? Is he going to put pressure on them in what way, right? Is the question that I would have. But I stand by what he said. Absolutely. 100%. I mean, he had to say something. I wanted to hear from him. And what I wanted to even, hear more from is putting the pressure on the players. I think it's time for the players to either, put up or shut up. Right. And to be like, things are going to change, or, your time here is done. That's how I feel like he kind of approached it. So, I 100% agree with everything he said. I understand the frustration with the fans. I think you're going to see that regardless, but I don't know, what do we expect from that's going to change in regards to the refereeing? Is there going to be a real change? And you said this, this could be the rock bottom. I don't think, just because we had a good game this yesterday, I don't think this is the rock bottom. I think the rock bottom's still yet to come.
I think rock bottom was Gil Vicente game.
I think there's more to come. I think the rest of the season is still going to be very, we're going to see a lot of bad games.
We'll get to that.
Forward. Yeah.
Jay, thoughts on what he said, kind of the the scope of the statement, and are you one of those who thinks, just shut up and handle it, or it's too late, or he didn't really say anything valuable?
So like he obviously, in my opinion, I think he said what he needed to say to kind of step up, at least take some ownership overall. But I have no confidence at all, dude. Like this team is in shambles.
Do you not have confidence in the team, or the infrastructure around the team, or both?
It's got like, dude, the first thing that he does is brings Nelson. Like, I don't think that's a good thing for him. Like overall, like if Nelson Veríssimo doesn't like hit, it doesn't look good for Rui Costa overall. Like I think he needs Nelson Veríssimo because that's his first sign. He could have got out and got anybody, and this is the guy he picked. Like it doesn't look good for a guy that just won the president of the club overall. I mean, to me at least, that doesn't look good as an owner, as like the president of the club. But I think I'm one of those people where I'm just fed up with everything. Like I don't like how they play. I don't think that the players are giving it their all overall. I think that it just needs a complete wash. Like everyone needs to get cleared out. Like Pizzi leaving was one of the good things, but I think there's more to come, and it needs to be done. I think that's just my opinion on the team, because like I'm just so frustrated with them. Like every game I see, it's like they play good and then they sit back, and it's just frustrating. Like I don't know. I feel like they play soccer for like 20 minutes and then watch the game for 70.
They didn't even play 20 minutes the other day against Vicente.
I heard they play like 5 minutes overall in that game.
I'm gonna let Oscar go first because he seems to be brewing over here. Let's hear you. As soon as he heard the word Pizzi, he was like,
No, guys, Pizzi will talk about it after.
Let's hear. What are your thoughts about what Rui Costa said?
Rui Costa coming in and saying stuff that would needed to be said, right? He talked about the refs and what they've been doing to Benfica this year. They talked about how he's been quiet and he's been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and it's not working out for Benfica. So he needed to step up and defend Benfica. But he also took blame for what Benfica is doing now, and told everybody not to show their faces, right? This means players, this means coaches, this means just infrastructure. They all have to show their faces, not hide behind somebody else, right? So not hide behind Pizzi or Andre Almeida or Rafa. That's basically what he meant. But so and now when it comes to when he says something about, I know what I'm doing, and I know what needs to be done in order to get Benfica to where it needs to be, I believe him. But I think I think Nelson Veríssimo coming in is basically just buying time for him to get his plan on going, right? And if it's true that he has a coach in mind already, if it's true that he has plans, I don't see why he would start in January doing those things. And if it's going to be a different coach in June, right? And he has to plan this what Benfica needs to do is what they were doing prior to this Jorge Jesus hire and getting players for old players and players that are like already well known that cost a lot of money. They need to come up with a plan and align whoever they bring in to that plan, right? So instead of like, oh, let's go get Leonardo Jardim. Who do you want as a player? Hey, let's go get this guy. The Leonardo Jardim doesn't work out 6 months later. Let's get a Marco Silva. Who do you want? Let's get this guy. No, you need to get coaches and players that align to your plan. That's what Rui Costa needs to do. And in this case, I think he knows what he wants. I truly believed when he talked that he knows what he wants and he knows how to get it. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. And giving them until June or until August when we start our season next year or late this year, and to see what he does on the off season. That's my take on him. This is also the same guy that gave JJ like no days expectations. Like you never gave him a shot, but now you want to give the president like time. Dude, this season's on him too. It's on JJ. It's on him. He became president at the beginning of the year. He needs to take ownership too. What are you talking about? He had no say in this team. Okay, but like it still counts as part of the season for him.
Correct, but the plan
he can't do nothing in January.
Was ultimately
How do you build a team in January? Nobody does it.
I feel like the season's still on him too.
I'm not saying that it's not. He was part of the infrastructure, right? But ultimately the planning of the season was between the coach and the higher power, which at the time was Luis Pieta, right? He's the last where the buck stops, and he's the one that agrees on what decisions are going to be made. But I don't think that we can say Rui Costa doesn't have any blame in it. I completely agree with that. But he also only became the president in November. And if our hope comes true, which is Nelson Verissimo is basically just a stopgap, right, to buy time to work in the background with someone who's already going to assume that position, but giving them time in the background to plan, right, then it all makes sense. If that's not the case, right, then I think it's a massive mistake. But I think we all would like to believe that it's the former, and they have someone lined up, and the ball's already rolling to figure this out. Bill, thoughts on what he had to say, and anything to add from what these guys said?
Yeah, I agree with what these guys have said. I think he needed to come out and say something, and I like that he didn't go over the top with complaining about the refs and kind of trying to put the blame all on the refs, because it's not. I mean, the team's playing like shit. Yes, that game had a horrible call that could have changed the game completely. But he had to come out and say something and kind of stand up and tell the fans, like, yep, the buck stops here. Team's playing bad. I take responsibility, but we're also getting screwed by some of these decisions. I personally didn't love hearing the fans tell him to go fuck off. Like,
neither did I.
No.
But I understand.
Player, my feelings for him as a player aside, like I get the fans are frustrated, but like you have to look at it like he has had a small window to impact this team and change the team and make any kind of actual changes to the roster or to management, that kind of thing. Like by the time he took over, he couldn't bring up sell players, bring in new players, and in January you can't do much anyways.
Well, I would expect him not to do much, right? If Nelson Verissimo was not going to be your coach, it'd be a nightmare for you to bring in more players.
Yeah. I think my only criticism of him right now, not my only, but one of my criticisms of him is the fact that he came out and essentially said that Nelson Verissimo was only here until the end of the year.
But I mean, he didn't call him interim. He said he's here till the end of the year. Right. He could have said,
but
we're finding a solution.
I think it's the same.
But I would assume that
interim saying he's only here till the end of the season.
But I would assume they had that conversation, right? Because now you look at it, right? Nelson Verissimo left the starting role or the head coach for the B team and now becomes the interim coach for the A team. When they bring in a replacement, I already saw this week that, he's guaranteed to stay within the coaching staff of the A team, right? But you would assume they would have had this conversation because it's like, okay, I'm going to go to the A team, and then when you find someone else, where do I go, right? I lost my B team spot, and what am I just twiddling my thumbs? I'm unemployed now, right?
I agree. So, I just think the fact that he came out saying he was only here till the end of the year essentially sent the message that this was a lame duck coach, and you're kind of packing the season in, if you will. I don't think that sent the right message to fans or to the team at all.
I actually think the opposite. I think him saying that gives me he's planning the season for next year. He's starting. It's fine. Maybe it's almost tossed in the towel, but he has confidence in Verissimo to continue this team and do whatever he can. But like Mikey said, I think this is a conversation he already had with Verissimo.
Has to be.
Right, and talked about it. Listen,
like Mike said, I've seen reports as well.
You're here. You're gonna carry us until the end, and then next year, this is the plan, right? You wouldn't say that with Verissimo hearing on TV. Oh shit! I guess I'm getting fired in June. No, correct. I think it's a conversation he had, and it's a plan between them. Listen, this is how it's going to go going forward. I think that's a great idea. I think for us, I like hearing that. I don't
disagree that they've had that conversation. I just don't think it sends. Coming out and publicly saying it in the interview, I don't think it sends the right message that essentially packing the season. I feel like that's what the message was sent, that he's staying here no matter what. We could lose the rest of the games and we're not going to.
But that's also not a guarantee, right? Say shit completely goes. If Benfica loses 3, 4, 5 games in a row, there's no chance that he's going to stay, right? I think Benfica pulls the fire alarm and is like, all right, now we need to make a decision now, right? I think it completely changes the plan. But do you think if Nelson Vinícius came in and completely shit the bed and did terrible, do you think that he would? There's no chance he would have maintained that pressure. I don't believe it. Right, I think he would have just had to basically push up his plan and say, "Listen, we can't wait till the end of the year because shit's going really bad. We need to make a decision now." But that's just my opinion.
I just want to go back on one thing Oscar said about kind of how Rui Costa needs to create a plan like we had before Jesus, right? And one thing I would say to that, right? I know we like to say that there was a plan before Jesus that we were on track of, but let's not forget that there was a core on this team from the time of Jesus that was probably one of the better teams we've seen, right? And that core was there throughout Jorge Jesus, Rui Vitória, Bruno Lage, okay? And as the time went on, little pieces were getting, moved or retiring or whatever, like Luizão, and smaller, like it was much easier to contain because you had a core team. And it was easier to be like, okay, now the plan is, now that we have an established team, the plan is to bring in the youth little by little. Where I think right now, there is no core. I don't believe there's a core on this team, right? We might think like, I would love to have Otamendi there, but Otamendi's on the tail end of his career, right? Vertonghen, the same thing. Maybe you can start with Lucas Verissimo. Lucas Verissimo. But there is no real core that I can see some of these players like long-term future. I think as much as we want to say like, oh, we need to create a plan like before JJ's second stint, I think there are going to be a lot of new players on this team. You have to, because there is no core right now. So I think there has to be, I think the plan is, getting a new coach, but that coach is going to have a lot to say on who he's bringing in, because he's got to establish some sort of core to this team and then continue, I think, the idea of bringing in the youth little by little as pieces, move on to different.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But I'm talking about like when Vieira talked about the formação and all the Seixal and all that. That was a plan, and that was a plan they kept for many years, right? There's a plan that they brought out Ruben Dias, they brought Renato Sanchez, Gonçalo Guedes, the guys that they actually implemented into the A team. Because in the past you didn't have that. You have guys leaving from the B team straight to other teams, right? So the plan was to bring these guys in and mash them with the solid players that they already had there, like Witsels and Javi Garcias and stuff like that, right? They learned from those guys. So I think that plan was in place, and maybe Jesus at the beginning made that core strong, and then we just implemented guys to come in and fix and fill gaps and here and that. And then we completely went away from it after we went. And then we used this year or 2 year ago, we decided to make a whole new team, right? Yeah. And that went away from that. Reminded me of those years when we had the every year was a new team. Every year was a new team, and we had to start from scratch. And then our fans didn't give them time, and then we had to fire a coach. The new coach came in, a whole new team was built, and we never had a system of continuity. You know what I mean? Like Portuguese. I agree.
Jay, you're muted. You're muted.
I think that. Oh, Jay, you're muted.
Jay, you're talking. You're muted, and I can't hear you.
What were you saying?
Kenny was talking. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and I understand what Oscar's saying now, but at this point in time, I think that a lot of the players that came in at Jorge Jesus' second stint, I mean, we were hoping they were going to pan out a lot better than they have, right? So that does happen when the players don't pan out. Now you lose because Darwin. Darwin has been playing better, right? But if Darwin was essential and could have been an immediate replacement to Vinicius and Pistoleiro and all, if he was a legit cornerstone on the team, that could have been a good replacement, but he hasn't been, right? Or even Waldschmidt, right? He could have been that midfielder, that second nine that could have helped, but these players didn't pan out. So that core that we had completely, it didn't go from just like filling in spots. It's now like dismantled. And for me, I think the team has to be rebuilt. I think one of what Rui Costa, I think, is trying to say or has said is that rather than build from outside the estrangeiro and spending a ton of money, it's more internally, whether it's through the youth, but also within the league. Because I think that's been a huge success for Sporting and Porto, and we have to do a better job there in that market. so that those players don't just go to Spartak.
They should go get that kid that tooled them. It was Vicente, Sinu, whatever his name is.
Yeah, but that I think that is where we at the end of the day, for me, I think it's still going to take time unless we immediately pick up next year. But the core, I don't see a core on this team that I'm comfortable with moving forward.
I would say, just to move on to the Tondela game, one change that he has implemented ready for next season is Lourenço Coelho is back as taking leadership of the professional football. For those of you who do remember, he was at the club. He was part of the big success that Benfica had with Jorge Jesus in his first stint, with Rui Vitória. He was the head of football, transfers, acquisitions.
So he's like the GM.
Yeah, so rumor is that Rui
When did he go?
He had a function within the club. So when he left, he won the Tetra, and he left after. I think he had another function within the club. But I mean, since he left, like, our management of professional football has taken a huge left turn. So if anything, hopefully this is another sign.
Who was in charge of that after he left?
Rui Costa was. Rui Pedro Braz is now. Tiago Pinto. So Tiago Pinto took over Lourenço Coelho when he left.
But Tiago Pinto is supposed to be real good, right?
Correct, but I mean, also Tiago Pinto inherited, right, what Lourenço Coelho had already put in place for many years, right? Same thing that people say Rui Vitória inherited Jorge Jesus' coattails, right?
Yeah.
And the team was already there, right? But he was part of a big piece of that success. Ever since he left, Benfica's kind of taken a dip in terms of management of the professional football. Hopefully his return next year, and the rumor is that Rui Pedro Braz will take a back seat or a lesser role as it relates to transfers and acquisitions. So hopefully this is another sign that, things are being worked in the background and there's actually some thought and planning going into it, and it's not we're just, riding by the seat of our pants. Moving on to yesterday's game, Tondela 1, Benfica 3. I'll start with you, Kenny. Thoughts on this game? Benfica starts with a 4-4-2 or, again, a 4-3-3, however you want to look at it. In the back, we had Odysseas, we had Grimaldo, Vertonghen, Otamendi, Lázaro. Rafa's back from COVID. Paulo Bernardo, Weigl, Everton, Darwin, and Gonçalo Ramos. João Mario's out with COVID. A game that, after Rui Costa's statement, again, rumors were... hold on, João's got a comment here. I really need to get some sleep. I just want you guys to know that I'm really sad about the way Benfica handled Pizzi's case. We haven't had in the last 30 years many players that really have those numbers. Plus, Benfica never knows how to do a proper farewell to the best players. That should be a Benfica brand. We suck at that, and now we owe it to Pizzi and João Pinto, Cardoso, Simão, Gaetan, Salvio, Aymar, a couple more. Only Jonas and Luizão have had a proper goodbye. Love you guys. Keep going. Carrega Benfica. João, abraço.
Obrigado, João.
Totalmente de acordo.
O Oscar está totalmente de acordo e depois amanhã podes ouvir no áudio para ver como é que foi a conversa logo mais tarde aqui no nosso podcast sobre o teu querido Pizzi. Vai dormir. So, a game that, right, the team has to have a reaction, right? After Rui Costa goes into the locker room, he basically says, we need better, we need more. Rumor was that he basically gave the players an ultimatum. And the truth is that in this game, first half, I thought that Benfica looked better in the sense of their reaction to losing possession. They were much more aggressive. There was much more interest on and off the ball. They just looked more engaged. They looked more connected. We created a variety of chances in that first half. We scored 2 goals. We go into the half at 2-0. And Kenny, I'm going to ask you what your thoughts on of this game is. And I guess we could touch on the first half. The second half, we score early in the second half. We make it 3-0. And then Nelson Veríssou makes changes. And again, he kills the team. Like, he takes Everton out, who was playing well. Right? He takes our best players out and completely kills the team. And we completely fall apart in the last 30 minutes. He makes the first substitution, I think, in the 62nd. We go up a man in the 65th. And for the last 25 minutes, we were useless. So thoughts on that, and thoughts on the fact that my question to you was going to be, we saw a reaction from these players, right? So for how long have we been asking for just this part of it, the attitude, the caring, the aggressiveness, right? So these players have the ability to do that, right? You can't teach it. Is it concerning, because it is for me, that these guys are just capable of turning it on and turning it off whenever they please, because they clearly didn't care to do it against Gil Vicente and many other games. And then all of a sudden, the president goes into the locker room, starts fucking throwing shit around. Next game they show up and he basically comes out publicly and says, we're not playing well, but the refs, blah, 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 right? But again, we're not playing well. And all of a sudden, for 45 minutes, until the coach makes 5 changes, the team looks like they actually care again. For me, that's a massive concern, because these guys basically can turn it on and turn it off whenever they please.
Yeah, no, and so to touch on the piece on the substitutions, right? So I think we've talked about this, right? It seems like he's just making subs to make subs and to use them all. I didn't actually see this entire game, so I didn't kind of catch the flow of how the game went and how the subs were made. But it does seem like he's just making substitutions just to make them. In regards to how they react to this game, I agree. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I can kind of tell that there's clearly something wrong in the locker room, and Nelson Verissimo's message isn't coming across, right? And it took, Rui Costa, getting cursed at by the fans for him to react. And then it took Rui Costa to get in the balneario to say something and throw them an ultimatum to get them to react. So clearly the players are not motivated themselves. There's a huge, lack of leadership in the locker room. And I think that's pretty evident to me. So, but I'm not confident in this team. Like Oscar was saying in the chats during the game, right? I think we were up 3-0, and Oscar's like, is it okay for me to say that I don't feel like we have this game in the bag? I agree. I think at any point in time we can completely fall apart. And I don't foresee us continuing, playing this type of, like we played this last game moving forward. I think we're going to see a lot of ups and downs because the team just isn't motivated. And I think, there's a lack of, the season's kind of done, right? I mean, there's not really anything you're playing for except for just your pride, right? And for the jersey on your back. And I don't know. I don't think a lot of these.
Do you think that takes a little bit of pressure off them, given the fact that there's no real attainable titles to target, right? Think about the Lodge situation, right? Do you think that takes a little bit of pressure off them for the rest of the season?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I mean,
in theory, it should. You don't have any pressure. You can just go out and play.
It should, but I also feel like
the way these guys have been playing.
I also feel like their mind isn't set on Benfica. I mean, they could probably look at this Pizzi thing look, Pizzi was, a god here, and he's gone. Who's to say, I'm not next, right? The Almeidas or whoever. Who's to say, if I don't want to be here, that's one thing. But I also they can just kick me out anytime. So I don't know. It's going to be an up and down the rest of the way. I don't believe that this is going to right the ship or anything. I just think we had a good game. Kind of things went our way. There weren't too many controversial calls, and the game went our way. And that happens a lot. And I think the next time we see adversity, right, I want to see the next time how I react to a disallowed goal or a red card or something like that. I want to see how we react then, not during a game that's everything's going your way and everything seems to be all right. And maybe I might not watch anymore because it seems like they do better when I don't watch. So maybe that might be my.
We'll give you play-by-play via text. You just don't turn the TV on. Jay, thoughts on the game, and wanted to get your thoughts on Everton. I have some stats here in terms of Everton. He scored again. This 3 games running that he scored. With JJ in 2021-2022 this season, he had 27 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. In 7 games since he left, he's got 3 goals, 2 assists. I've said it quite a few times now since JJ left that I felt that Everton looked more confident, more engaged, more willing to take that risk, to make that extra pass. 3 games in a row that he scored. I know that you, if I'm not mistaken, still weren't a believer when I mentioned it on the podcast that you weren't on and you were commenting. So thoughts on the game and thoughts on Everton's, I guess, evolution post JJ.
I'm not on mute. As far as the game, I thought you guys pretty much touched base on it. I thought they played good for like 60 minutes overall. But I was not confident in them winning it still because I was like they could probably still tie it, this and that. I just thought overall they played well. I didn't understand the substitutions at all with Nelson Veliz. Like you said, it kind of killed the match for Benfica, and we lost completely. And I was actually pissed that we gave up that goal because that ruined my prediction overall. But,
I got the prediction.
Yeah. But I just thought that it just wasn't still as convincing as I wanted to be. I thought they played a little bit harder. But it just, I don't know. It just doesn't bring, like, I'm not ready to think that, like, you're saying that Gil Vicente was rock bottom. I still, like, kind of agree with Kenny. I think there's still more bad to come.
Fuck, I hope not.
And to be honest, to me, it's good. It's the Ajax game. Because if we get demolished, I think this whole team just goes to shit. To be honest. To be like, I'm
win.
Already signed the point.
Dude, at this point, it's win. And it's about how many.
I was like, dude, we're gonna get killed. And I feel like that's why I think that there's still more bad to come, because I think that once that game happens, and I don't think that we're gonna pass, and I think that hopefully that we don't get embarrassed. But I think that after that, I think we're gonna see like a lot of young kids come, because I think none of the players that are playing want to play anymore after that.
Hopefully it's not a bloodbath, but time will tell. We got 2 games before we got to play them, so hopefully the next 2 games, Santa Clara and Boa Vista, are positive ones, and we can go into that game at least on somewhat of a high.
It's not a team to sleep on either.
I know
they start winning at home. I mean,
this weekend, Saturday, we got Santa Clara. See how that goes.
Those two games are not going to be easy. Santa Clara.
No, I agree. Santa Clara's got a good team, and Boa Vista, since Petit's gone there, I mean, we just struggled against them in the Taça Liga. So
yeah,
and it's away at Stadio Bessa, so it won't be easy. Oscar, thoughts on this game, and wanted to get your thoughts on. I know Rafa just came back from COVID. But again, it was another game that, he's had the cycle of, he's struggling to get into the game. And I don't know if it's the tactics that have changed. He seems like he's handcuffed. Like his body language seems off. He doesn't seem, interested in getting the ball and running at guys like we saw 2 months ago. I don't know what the hell's going on, but get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think it was a game of 2 halves. First half, we played probably our best half when it comes to pressure, when it comes to, lose the ball, you go right after it, recovering the ball really quick. We score goals. Darwin was on his day. He was shooting the ball. He was doing well. Everton, another game, another good performance by him. So I was impressed with our individual players playing as a team for the first time probably this season, other than the games we beat, like teams 11-0. But this
Barcelona.
Yeah, that was defensively a good display. But when it comes to attacking and keeping the ball, I think this first half against Tondela was one of our best games. And then we have the Verissimo issue is when we take subs out. And I think the subs he did is because he thought the game was won, right? 3-0, 60-something minutes. Let's give these guys some rest. But obviously it killed the momentum because they got a red card and they were attacking.
What are we giving them rest for? We're playing 1 game a week.
I don't know, just because I think that's what the clock says. Hey,
I get that. I'm just confused.
That's what the manual. That's what the analytics say.
Yes.
Analytics coming to
when you went to coaching school, it said a volta dos 65 minutos vai tocar o alarme, faz uma substituição, and it's usually the forward guys.
He makes 5 substitutions every game.
But that's basically, to me, that's what it is. I think the alarm went off, and he's like, "All right, shit, who do I take out?"
He literally made a double swap at the 73rd, and then another double swap at the 81st. Yeah. Like, the fuck's the point?
Yeah, but the game was won. I think the game was won, even though I didn't believe it, because I this team doesn't convince me that 3-0 is enough on the 60th minute. But then again, like, I don't know. This is the first time I saw the team playing as a team. And then the Rafa issue is the system change. I think once he was playing the top three, like with the three forwards, basically a striker and two guys in the wide, and Rafa is one of those guys playing more in the field. I think having him go as basically a right wing now, where he has to defend a lot more and run a lot more of the field. It's him adjusting to that system, and we saw that at the beginning when before we went to a 3-4-3 or 3-5-3, whatever fuck way we want to call it. 3-5-2. We saw that with Rafa. Remember how he wasn't getting it? Like it felt like he needed to do. He couldn't get in the system. He couldn't fit in. He couldn't, and it took such a long time since we got him that we just even thought, man, this guy is like he was so good at Braga, and now he sucks. What the hell's wrong with this guy? And then they changed the system, and he penned out. He was doing good, and I think now going back to that, he has to get adjusted. And I hope it's just a temporary thing that he comes back from.
I hope so, because we could use him. I mean, Darwin, fortunately, has had a good season, and he's really the only guy right now that gives us the option of playing the ball in behind, right? And his pace and his strength, he creates a threat on his own, right? Rafa is really the only other guy that's, a go at defenders, create havoc. And when he's not doing that, we almost become very one-dimensional, right? I think we become very easy to play against, especially for teams that set up with a deep defensive line. Tondela didn't do that, which I think played in our favor. They're also the worst defense in the league, right? So I think all of that kind of was a recipe for disaster. But as we've seen, teams that sit deep, are organized or compact, we struggle to break down because, right, we don't play into space, right, unless it's Darwin, right? So it's easy to defend. And our crosses, 9 out of 10 times, they're useless, right? So as a defender, you're comfortable, right? Everything's in front of you, right?
I have one last thing to say, and I want to give a shout out to Seferovic. He scored 2 games in a row.
What? Who?
Seferovic.
What are you talking about?
Shit, that's Ramos because he missed 9 to score 2.
So he finally, dude, that miss that he had when Darwin lays it off to him,
dude, so bad.
He tries to when he headed it back.
That was such a good cross, such a good layoff.
Crush the ball and just place it.
It was upsetting.
Was it left? Was he hit that lefty? No, lefty. Yeah. So I mean,
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, but it was such a good layoff by Darwin, and he ended up smashing it over. Bill, thoughts on the game? And I wanted to leave this question for you, which is, do you think that are you hopeful that there's something that we can build off of what we saw in those 62 minutes that were far more positive than anything we've seen in the last month and a half? Or do you think it was just we played against an opponent that didn't sit deep, worst defense in the league? It happened, right? But this weekend, a more organized Santa Clara team is going to bring us back down to reality.
I mean,
Kenny agrees with me.
We didn't play like this wasn't a perfect game, like, and we didn't play like nice footy. Like I think like the positives from this game or from the first 50, 60 minutes were just the fact that we were aggressive. Like if we lost the ball, we were on top of them, like Oscar said. I think that is just a huge positive considering how we've looked up until this game. Like you never saw any kind of reaction from the team. You'd lose the ball, and then it's like everyone turns around and runs back, and you give them plenty of space to build up. Like we haven't seen this type of like physicality. We lose the ball, get on them tight, let's get it back as quickly as possible. Like we haven't seen this from this team. So I think that's a positive we can take, and I hope that if we're not playing well, at least we have like that attitude where we lose it, let's get it back, get back on top of it. You can't get much worse than what we've looked
I think that's why we're so hyped
like,
up about it, because it was so much better than what we've seen in the last
and it wasn't
month.
even like the team didn't play well. I think it was just the fact that we saw like a response from the players, and like they were like just it almost like they gave a shit. Like they lost the ball, fucking win it back.
Yep.
We didn't. I don't think we played well. I thought there was a lot of sloppy play going on. I think Weigl was sloppy in this game, which we don't.
He's
you don't
been
see
the last
too often.
couple of games, which I was going to mention.
And there was a few passes in this game where it was just like, what are you fucking doing? Like it was just there was one where he was like running away from the player and like turned and try to play it like cross field.
Yeah, and
like,
it went just like there was no one within like 25 yards.
He had his back to like the side, and he like turns and tries to play like a 40-yard ball. Like I don't know, like just uncharacteristic mistakes like that from him. And I think the team in general didn't play great. I think it was just the positive we can take from this is that we were more aggressive. We didn't just sit back and let them keep possession. We at least were on top of them, trying to win it back and try to keep possession. And I think you would hope that something that simple is easy to carry over to the next game. But again, we haven't seen it from this team multiple games in a row. So you can't say, all right, we've seen it once, we're going to see it again next week, like this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised at all if on Saturday we see Benfica sitting back and Boavista fucking pinging the ball all over the place. Santa Clara. Because this team is so like, was it Jekyll and Hyde? Like they're just all over the place. Like you can't, we haven't had any like consistent games back to back to back. Like it's all over the place.
I won't be fooled. Let's be honest. I will not be fooled by this team again. Okay.
Right.
I
agree with
that. At first year of JJ, he called it. I'll give it to him. We were on this like run. Hey, at least we're winning, right? And I was on that high. I was riding the roller coaster. I was on the bus.
I was controlling the bus. I was driving the bus. It was a Ferrari, yeah. I was driving.
Mike was driving it.
We crashed and burned.
A lot of us were all fooled. So during this time, I will not, get back on the high. I'll take the positive, but I don't think they'll build off of it. I think there's a deeper problem within this team, and like this isn't just the answer to it. I think there's a bumpy road along the rest of the way.
I agree.
Okay. Oh shit! The realist was right.
Just one time.
I'll give you your due.
Just one time.
Pizzi conversation is about to come up.
Yeah, let's go to that before we jump over to the main event on the card.
Call him by his true name, Pizan.
Pizzi Don.
Yeah.
You're missing a letter. Jay, I'll start with you. Who would you rate man of the match in this game?
I thought Darwin played the best overall.
Okay. Darwin, according to goal point rating, Everton with a 7.8. He had 2 assists and a goal. Darwin had a 7.5. Gonçalo Ramos had a 7.5. Weigl 7.4. Otamendi 7. Tarapt was the lowest of the 5-1, but he also came in later. Rafa, of all the starters, was the lowest other than Odysseus with a 5.3. Mike De Silva says, next game when Otamendi looks to distribute the ball, pay attention to the lack of check-ins by midfielders. These guys don't want to sprint or show a drive. I don't disagree with that either, Mike. Bill, man of the match for you.
I want to see Darwin just because of the goal, but I think overall, Everton, I thought he played phenomenal. And like you said, since JJ's left, it looks like there's some weight off his shoulders, and he's looking a little freer on the field.
He's got some different responsibilities on the field, which I think frees him up offensively. So,
but that Darwin goal, I think that might be man of the match on its own.
Golazo. Speaking of Everton, there was a rumor that Flamengo was trying to sign him. They offered like $15 million for 70% of his player pass, and Benfica said no, and they said they won't sell him for anything less than $35 million. He's been growing since JJ left, and they believe that he'll be a valuable asset in the summer. So that's the latest news on him. Kenny, man of the match for this game.
Yeah, I have to go with Darwin. Just, that goal. If last week, we were talking about his value, $50 million, that goal alone,
80.
Now maybe 60, 70. We're getting closer to that number that you guys are talking about. So Darwin, just the goal, more confidence. I think he played with a lot more confidence this game. So I'll give
I
it to
agree.
him.
He was back. He missed the last 2 games
Right.
in the Taça Liga because he was away. I think he offers this team a completely different dynamic. He's got 21 goals this season in all competitions, 16 in the league, 2 assists. I think I saw something today that in 70 matches or 71 matches that he's played for Benfica, he's got something like 32 goals and 15 assists, right? So he's been directly involved in almost 50 goals in 70 or 71 games. So, he's starting to roll here. Oscar,
Oscar's wrong. Hey, I'll tell you this. Oscar's going to be wrong about Darwin.
I was just going to say, Oscar, Oscar's been coming around about him. Oscar's been coming around.
I didn't say that Darwin's wrong, meaning like he's going to be a flop. I said flop is going to be Yaremchuk. I don't know if you guys remember my initial thing.
But Darwin also had a rough start as well.
He hadn't proven himself yet,
Correct.
which I said he has time to prove himself, but he hasn't done anything right now. It's like we are.
You also criticize him because you paid $25 million and you
100%.
And now, to be honest, he's probably been our best player.
100%, and I'm not denying that. I'm just saying until we paid a lot of money for this guy, and I expect goals. At that time, he wasn't scoring goals, so I'm criticizing because I hadn't seen anything prior to that. And at Benfica, okay.
Who's your man of the match, Oscar?
My man of the match is Everton. I think Darwin had a phenomenal game. He scored a goal. He was shooting well. But Everton to me, and Everton had it off the crossbar as well. Yep. It would have been almost the same identical goal as Darwin if the goalie didn't have a fingertip save. So Everton to me, 2 goals, a goal, and a crossbar was to me one of his better games.
I agree, and that assist on Gonçalo Ramos' goal, like his patience and then his layoff to Gonçalo Ramos. A lot of players in that spot probably don't make that pass. I mean, considering it was like a 2.5-yard pass, but it was perfectly weighted, picked his head up. So I would say Everton for me as well. I think 2 assists, a goal. Again, I think he's growing, and hopefully we'll start to see the Everton that we all expected. Then again, last year towards the end of the season, we started to see a little bit of this, and then he kind of fizzed out. So hopefully, going back to Kenny and what Bill said as well, right? Consistency, right? Do it for a stretch, 5, 6, 7 games, and then we can see how that goes. Mike Silva put a comment here. Sublinha tem agora tantos golos ao serviço do Benfica, 15 como Di Maria. O brasileiro precisou de 80 jogos para chegar a este número, já o argentino precisou de 124. Di Maria was younger.
Di Maria came in at 20 years old. Everton
younger.
Comes in at 26. You expect something better from a
much younger. Everton is an international already. Di Maria was
also
a very young kid.
Like peanuts for Di Maria, not
but that's different times. Di Maria came in 2008,
and Di Maria also weighed like 4 pounds when he came. He was a tiny dude. All right, moving on to the last topic and the main event on the card for tonight. Pizzi goes on loan to, I don't even know what the hell the name of the team is.
Oscar, can you pronounce it? Let's go.
Istanbul.
No, that's the second part of their name.
Qatar. I'm practicing. I'm practicing.
So he went on loan for 6 months to Turkish side. There's no option to buy. So he's obviously coming back at the end of the season, and then I'm sure they'll figure it out from there. I'm going to open it up with Jay and Oscar first, just because they're the 2 most passionate about this topic, just to give their thoughts. And really what I'm looking to see here is Pizzi's put 360 games for Benfica, 94 goals, 96 assists over 7.5 years. And I'm going to say, and I don't think any of us can deny, as Johanina says, Oscar, how much did you cry already? I don't think any of us can deny that Pizzi has been arguably one of, if not the most influential player that we've seen at Benfica in the last 7-8 years. I don't think anyone can deny that.
20.
Fine, but I'm just saying, like in the time that he's been at Benfica, right? Maybe Jonas jumps out, right? But like I don't think anyone has been as influential statistically as he has, right? He put up numbers that players in that position don't put up, right? On the other side of that, I also feel like his numbers also created a deceiving image of the type of player that he was. And the example I'm going to give is Pizzi had very similar numbers in his best year at Benfica as Bruno Fernandes had at Sporting. If I was to ask you, do you think Pizzi is as good as Bruno Fernandes, would you say he is or he isn't?
You asking me a question?
Anyone. Would you guys say that Pizzi is as good as Bruno Fernandes?
No. Not my opinion. No.
I would say no as well.
No.
Right. So I think that the numbers were a bit deceiving in terms of how good he was, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he was absolutely influential for Benfica for many years. Our best player, for 2-3 years in terms of goals. Like he was just putting numbers through the roof. But now he goes out on loan. Like João said in his comment earlier, right? Benfica unable to kind of have proper farewells for some of their best players. And it almost gets the sense that Pizzi basically leaves through the back door, right? The likelihood of him coming back and putting on that jersey again is very unlikely. It could happen. We don't know, but it could. Right. And a player that, again, he gave us a lot, whether you liked him or not, or whether you thought he was the best or not, or whether you thought his caliber represented the numbers that he put up is indifferent, right? But the fact is he put up very good numbers and he helped us win titles. But now he goes out on loan, and I guess I'll open it up to I'll go with Jay first. What are your thoughts in terms of this decision? Do you think it's a decision that shows, right, Benfica got rid of JJ because of the altercation, and do you think it's a decision that shows that there were two faults here, we need to get rid of the two faults and clean the slate? Or do you think it was just a matter of JJ's gone, Pizzi's not an option, he's one of our higher salaries, let's move him on, let's save some of that money for the rest of the year, he's not going to be a part of the plan, in the summer we'll make a decision on it, and we'll go from there?
I think it's that. I think that he's played his course. I think he's played his course like 3 years ago, but I'm happy that he left. Him and Jesus, that whole argument, JJ left, now he leaves. I think it's the right decision, the right call for the locker room as well. I think that there's still more players in that locker room that need to leave. And then Almeida is one of them. I like Rafa, but I think Rafa needs to leave Benfica as well. I think he's kind of played his course at Benfica overall. In my opinion, I'm just happy because, like, to me, this is a good start because I get it. I do agree with what you said. Pizzi did do a lot stats wise. He won a lot for us, but if you're looking at all his stats and all that, you also have to look at what he did the last couple of years, which is,
I don't disagree,
a lot of BS bullshit, locker room wise, even playing wise, he wasn't that great. I think he kind of dug his own grave by doing all that as well. That's why he's going down the back door and not getting praise like some players overall. Is it the right decision? Probably not. I personally, like my sports teams, I like to see players get a good farewell. I'm kind of butthurt because Brady didn't get one, but I get what Oscar's probably where you to say where he did do a lot. His stats facts are facts. He had one of the best stats wise for a midfielder, I think, with that year where he scored like almost 40 goals and 30
crazy.
Like that's ridiculous numbers. But also, no team came knocking at our door to pay for Pizzi after, like you said, his numbers were kind of inflated. Some like with probably the PK, it just didn't show how he actually played on the field. But I thought he did have a good career in the beginning, but towards the end it kind of just fell apart, and I ended up despising the guy, to be honest. I'm really happy that he left, and see you later and good luck in Turkey.
Oscar, I'm going to pass it to you. Before I pass it to you, I'm going to bring up on the screen here a message that Pizzi left on his social media. Inicio a partir de hoje um novo projeto profissional no Basak Sair, onde espero ser feliz nos próximos meses. Estava longe de pensar que este dia chegaria tão repentinamente, mas a vida de um futebolista é estar preparado para tudo e aceitar as mudanças. Sempre defendi o Sport Lisboa Benfica e tenho muito orgulho em ter sido capitão desta enorme instituição. This sentence, I think, tells me that he's not coming back. ter sido capitão, right? Because he's coming back on loan, or coming back from the loan. Continuarei a apoiar sempre, após tantos anos, títulos, jogos, golos e momentos memoráveis para mim e para a minha família. O Benfica é e sempre será a minha casa. Tenho a certeza que a equipa técnica, os meus colegas e as pessoas que estão diariamente no Seixal tudo farão para que as alegrias regressem o mais rápido possível. Estou sempre convosco mesmo estando longe. Um abraço a todos. Oscar, thoughts on what happened here, how all this unraveled, and what Jay said?
I said it on the chat, and I'll repeat it again here. I think this is a very straightforward situation. Obviously Pizzi has his numbers, had his play at Benfica. Nobody can deny how good he was and continued to be an influence on this team, right? Benfica team, right? And I think even though you say Tank mentioned 3 years ago he should have left, when we started going to shit last year with Jesus turned to him. All right.
He started more frequently last year.
Yeah, Jesus turned to him as, hey, guy, go in, and now I don't have any better, right? So Jesus, it's only been this year that it basically it all went to shit, where he doesn't play and he comes in the 90th minute. You're muted. I don't know, so I can't hear you. But stay muted. I like you like that. So to me, basically, this is what it was. The season started off well, and you didn't. I didn't hear a pew from Pizzi. When we went to shit, when this happened against Sporting, we started sucking against we played against Porto back to back, and when Jesus is not there, a captain spoke out to the team and said his truth. Don't know if it was the right thing to do, and me in his situation, I would have done the same thing, just because I have a little bit of when it comes to losing, I don't like it, and I can lose my shit, right? So he probably said things he shouldn't have said to the locker room, and obviously that came out, and I'm pretty sure it happens in other locker rooms. It happens with other teams, where the coach argues with the player, and it's happened with Benfica, and not only in the locker room, it happened in the fucking final of the Taça with the Oscar Cardoso and Jesus, right? Yep. He pushed him in front of the fucking live TV, right? So it's happened in the past. This time it happened in the locker room, and it came out. And basically Jesus tried to punish Pizzi by him turning and saying what he said, and the team sided with Pizzi in this case. Sided with Pizzi, and Jesus at this point says, "I have no authority in this locker room. It's like the team is against me, and what am I going to do? Coach a team that doesn't believe in me?" So him and Rui Costa agreed, get him out. You have that's it. You have no control of this team anymore. See you later. But because it came out into the public, now the team has to make a decision and say, "Dude, now that it looks like Pizzi runs the club." Right, and that's not the image you want. You don't want a player to run the club. So they had to kind of sideline Pizzi. Verissimo came in and was told Pizzi's going to leave. It has to leave because we can't have Pizzi or the fans think that Pizzi runs this club, right? So I think it's the right thing to do. He's going on a loan, and I'm hoping that he's part of the plan for the summer. With a new coach, new structure, new team, whatever Rui Costa has planned, I'm hoping that he is part of that plan. And if he's not, I'm okay with it as well. It's okay. You don't have to agree with me. I hope. Look, he's shown to us with a solid team around him to be a very, very, very crucial player for Benfica. When he had Jonas and players that could play around him, we cannot deny that he was one of our most influential players on the team, right? His numbers speak for themselves. So it's not like he forgot how to play. He just right now doesn't have anybody to play with. It's a bunch of new guys that they don't, as Kenny said before, we don't have a team. We have a bunch of individuals that don't play together, right? So I think we're going to see more of Pizzi. I really do. And if we don't, I'm totally okay with it. But I think he deserves to go from the front door, not from the back door. He needs to be praised for what he's done for Benfica the last 7 years. Think about this: 94 goals in 7 years for a midfielder.
Pizzi right now is old, slow, and sucks.
Good for you.
Kenny.
Right now. I'm talking like today.
Wait, when you realize that when he played the last 2 minutes of every game?
And the whole Pizzi bullshit started when Weigl came. Like that's when everything with the Pizzi in the locker room stuff started. That's when.
Tell me your sources again.
That's
which your sources? Your sources. Give me your sources. Mention one. What, Facebook?
No, you said Ebola.
Oh, that one. Oh, I see.
Yeah, and what? That's what we pretty much. Right?
No, but your sources like Pizzi started when Weigl came in. Like
pretty much, in my opinion,
why is it Pizzi?
Started happening
from what I
and Pizzi. It's
from what I hear, Tank. From what I hear, Tank, when Weigl came in, players, nobody's. I never heard Pizzi was mad.
Sources.
That's the same sources you're hearing. Now you give me a page on the baller that says Pizzi got mad when Weigl came in. So give me that page on the baller. Search it. Do whatever search you want. I heard players were mad that Weigl came in making the most salary or a highest salary player.
Yeah, easy.
Wait, those players.
The three that always come up.
How much you pay for Correio da Manhã subscription?
They come up in one article. They come up in another article. You don't put two and two together. Like you play detective a little bit.
No, that's not how you.
The same players come up in the same article in the same.
Look, when you watch
mute them both.
Makes sense.
How do you watch? Do you watch Fox News and CNN? Do you believe which one do you believe?
Just put them head to head on the screen.
I don't watch either one.
Yeah, you shouldn't watch the ball and record and CNN. You know why? Because
I told you, I agree with you. I thought he had a great beginning of the year, but the last 3 years he sucked. Like the thing is, you can't admit that what did he do the last 3 years? Nothing.
The last 3 years? We mean 3 years ago was with Bruno Lage, right? He had his best season. Go look it up.
2 years. The last 2 years. What has he done? Or
the last 2 years called Jorge Jesus.
Culpa do Jesus.
Holy shit.
He sucks with Nelson Verismo, but it's still Jesus' fault. I get it.
Kenny, thoughts on this? Put some cream on this burn here.
No, I mean, so the way Oscar depicted what happened with the Jesus locker room incident, I agree, and I think at that point in time, you can't just let Jesus go and not the player that's rumored to be part of the problem as well. You have to make a decision there, and I said it right after. Right, Jesus is just the first peg on the board. There's more to come. And I said,
but if they ship Pizzi, does that not confirm that he was part of the problem?
So that's what I'm getting to, right? Is because I said it. I think Pizzi in January there's going to be and is gone, right? It's February, but the window's still the same.
Yeah.
And where I disagree with Oscar is that it wasn't just after Jesus left that Pizzi was not getting minutes. I mean, he was already not getting minutes at the beginning of the season. So in my opinion, like Bill said this before, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And it doesn't, for me, it's a logical progression of events that have happened since Rui Vitória that have led to where we are right now. And it doesn't, I mean, there's a narrative there, and the events that have been, whether you want to call it rumors in the papers or whatnot, it's come to kind of been what the story is. There might be stretches of truth there, but the stories kind of line up. So I agree that maybe the Correio da Manhã is exaggerating what actually happened, but something did happen. Okay, because come to find out, whatever was rumored to have happened in the locker room with JJ and Pizzi, right? At the beginning, it was just rumors and newspapers. And then Rui Costa came out on an interview and said exactly the same story that was rumored to have happened or was in the papers. So why can we not believe then 2 years ago with Rui Vitória wasn't true, or when Bruno Lage was dismissed, it might have not been true? Because maybe there is some truth there. And let's face it, in my opinion, if Bruno Lage, it was sources that were close to Bruno Lage that said there was a clique in the locker room and names were said that dismissed him. He could have easily came out and said that is not true. He neither denied it and I agree with you, Oscar. He also didn't confirm it.
Only the players came out and denied it, but Bruno Lage didn't address it.
Which I think is a confirmation of sorts.
But if Oscar can say Well, it was never confirmed. No one confirmed it. Well, I can say he never denied it either. I mean, you don't know, I don't know. But
Right.
if those things, if those previous stories, like we can say, whatever, it's a story in the paper. Second incident, whatever. Like it's a story in the paper. Third incident happens, and now we actually have a president, right? There's a chain of command, right? Player, coach, president. The player disobeyed or went against the coach. Coach got dismissed by the president. President comes out and confirms the story. Then it's logical for me, in my opinion, to go back and be like, well, maybe there was something there in the previous two stories. We will never find out, right? Unless they come out and confirm it. But I think that there was something there. And that's been a huge problem in this stretch of seasons and why we've been so bad. So I think JJ was the GOAT or the black sheep that was let go.
Don't call
first.
him a goat.
Yeah, I missed
Scapegoat.
Scapegoat.
I was trying to see what the acronym stood for
at Benfica, coach wise. But anyways, he was a scapegoat.
Dude, you made Mikey disappear.
Or the black sheep.
I think we just lost Mike.
No, I'm here. I don't know what's wrong with my camera though. I can see and hear you guys.
You look better now.
He was a scapegoat. The first peg that had to go because of the incident. Pizzi, I agree with Oscar. There's no way that Pizzi could, even as a player, with all this going around, I don't think Pizzi wants to be there, especially if nothing changed with Verissimo. You would have assumed, okay, JJ's gone. Oscar, would you not have thought that maybe Pizzi would have gotten more minutes?
No, dude. My explanation to this was when Verissimo came in, and this happened because of an argument that Jesus and Pizzi had, right? So when Rui Costa had to get rid of Jesus, and it was confirmed that Jesus and him got into an argument at the locker room, and Jesus tried to expel him, and the players sided with Pizzi. All right, the players, the whole team, not only Rafa and André Almeida and Grimaldo, the whole team sided and believed Pizzi was correct. Right, and that's when.
But hold on, was it they sided with Pizzi, or were they just taking the side of the player because they had more issue with the manager? No,
I don't know.
I don't know if it was necessarily they thought everything Pizzi did was correct. I think it was just
if we're going
they might have been fed up with what George Jesus was doing. And I think
all right, so they agreed with Pizzi said to him. This is not the Benfica we want. This is embarrassing.
They weren't
this is humiliating.
Pizzi. I think they were just going on Pizzi's side because he was the only one that stood up and said something to JJ.
Isn't that meaning backing him up? What the fuck is the definition of backing him up mean?
No, like what I'm saying is they're not saying we're by his side completely. This is Pizzi. We're standing with him. I think they were just going, if anyone had said anything, they would have just said, well, yeah,
100%. So
forget JJ. We're fed up with this.
So if Otamendi stood up and said the same thing,
I think the majority of the team would have.
The team would have sided up with Otamendi. Exactly what I'm saying. So it's not a Pizzi issue. It's somebody that had the balls to stand up to Jorge Jesus, and then the team basically said, "Hey, there you go. I actually agree with him." All right. So it's more like the person that did it basically took one for the team, and in this case was Pizzi. When Pizzi did it, and he took one for the team agreed with him. They couldn't get rid of the whole team. They got rid of Pizzi because Pizzi initiated this. All right. But like you said, Bill, the team basically stood by the player that they thought was right, and this is in that argument. So my point is I get it. At this point, Verissimo came in, and this happened because of Pizzi. I guarantee Rui Costa said that Pizzi was no longer should be an option until this is this basically washes down the water or type of bullshit.
Yeah, but so don't you think if you're a player on that team, right? JJ's gone, but now the president comes and says, "Hold on a second, you guys might have sided with Pizzi or the players, but by letting go of Pizzi, the president's saying I actually don't agree with you guys." I was forced to let go of JJ, but I am not siding with you. I'm not letting you run this.
Kenny,
I am now getting rid of.
We agree with that.
No, Kenny. And I think the thing is, Benfica is run by fans, right? The fans, what the fans think, and the by Caralho Rui Costa chants and all the bullshit, right? So that when the fans think that a player runs the club, they take the authority from Rui Costa. They say Rui Costa is there as a muppet. It's like he has to take control again, right? And I think Rui Costa had to say basically by doing this is a statement saying I run this club, right? The fans think Pizzi runs this club right now, and if Pizzi got playing time right after Jorge Jesus went, it would have been a confirmation that he ran the club. Does it not make sense to you guys?
Or it could have been a confirmation that he didn't do anything wrong.
No, it could have been, but the fans already thinking that Pizzi is there creating issues. If Pizzi, look, Rui Vitória left, Pizzi got like legit as a star with Bruno Lage, right? Or even before when Jorge Jesus left, Pizzi was the star with Rui Vitória. Rui Vitória left, Pizzi was the star with Bruno Lage. So Bruno Lage left, Pizzi, not Bruno Lage, Jorge Jesus left, Pizzi will be a star with Verissimo. It's almost like shit. Pizzi is just doing this to get playing time or to get back on the being the star of the team.
But we're disregarding the, and you guys can hear me fine, right?
Yeah. You're good now.
I got the video on my iPad. I don't know what's wrong with my camera. I think we're disregarding the negative side of it, which is after Pizzi or after Bruno Lage, or Pizzi had his best year with Bruno Lage, but Pizzi was also part of the problem that Bruno, like, we completely fell apart, right? So he was also part of that as well. So while he had his best numbers with Bruno Lage, he also was part of that atrocious stretch that saw us shit the bed and lose a 7-point lead.
And I went back, by the way, and I looked at some of those games during that fall, and Pizzi lost minutes during that stretch. I went back and saw he was subbed out a lot and pretty fairly early in the games. I mean, I didn't go through every single game, but during that stretch of where we lost the season, Pizzi was getting subbed out. Now, I don't remember how he was doing prior to that, right? I mean, he was having the best statistical career. I don't know how he was doing minutes-wise, but during that last stretch, he was definitely losing time on the field. But again, I don't know if that's correlated or if it's just by chance. I don't have all the details, but I did notice that.
Yeah. So,
but I see your point, Oscar. I mean, I think we both agree that in the stage that we're in, Pizzi had to go one way or the other because it just wasn't a good dynamic on the team with the fans, with the Dita sound. It was just like Rui Costa had to take over the situation. I do disagree that. I know the fans kind of make their voice heard, and like we want to believe that we have an effect on what happens there, but I don't necessarily think that Rui Costa is reacting to what the fans are doing. Like I think the fans calling Rui Costa whatever they said, vai pro caralho. I think it was more like the frustration. I don't think those I feel kind of like that, but I love Rui Costa. It's more of like the situation that's currently.
There's a lot of fans that actually like stand by that statement.
Yeah,
it's very divided.
Well, there you go. I mean, I think that has to do more with Vieta and
I think
he's associated to that
family of
no matter what he does, he will always be associated back to Vieta.
But like if I'm on the field, if I'm there, I feel that same frustration. I would probably join in on the chance because I want to see a reaction. I want to see. We haven't heard from him. We haven't heard you, step up. We're getting crucified by the arbitraging. Everyone's making fun of us. We're a fucking joke. I want something to happen. And it's not necessarily out of like, that's what I mean. I just feel like I need to say that to like get my point across. Like, it's almost like I'm going to yell louder than you so you can hear me.
You guys remember when we lost a 7-point lead, right? Yep. And you guys remember that's before we lost a 7-point lead, we had sold João Felix for 125 million, right? When you lost a 7-point lead, the fans started chanting, we made all this money and you basically not doing shit with this money, blah, blah, blah. What do? They went out and bought everything, everybody.
But so they are reacting.
They are reacting to the fans instead of like keeping to their plan, and that's why I
disagree with that.
Changes.
I think Benfica went and spent a lot of money because it was an election year, and Luis Vieta needed something to get.
The fans were asking for it too. The fans were saying, "No, nós temos this dinheiro todo. We're not wasting money. We're not wasting money." The fans were asking for that.
But that was after the fact. But before that, they weren't asking for it. They only asked for it after
we lost a 7-point lead.
Okay, correct. But everyone was fine. Everyone was fine before that. They didn't complain about selling them and not buying.
Correct, because we were crushing it. We were cruising.
If we didn't lose one game,
no one would have had a problem with it.
We actually lost one game. That's the first half against Porto. And then we had all wins.
In the first 19 games, we won 18 and lost 1.
And let's not forget the pandemic too. I mean, there was a huge break in between.
There was, but there was a break for everyone.
That's true.
It was.
We were already slipping before the break.
we had lost before the break. We had lost to Porto away, and we lost to Braga at home. And then from March to June, there were no games. And the first two we tied. Then we lost to we beat Rio Ave. We lost to Santa Clara at home. We lost to Maritimo away, and that's when Bruno Lage.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Pizzi like miss 2 PKs in one of those games? I'm pretty sure there was, because I was looking back at it. I think Pizzi missed 2 PKs. One was a save, one was a miss.
It was one game at home. I think it was against Braga, if I'm not mistaken. That was pre-pandemic.
Fucking Pizzi, dude.
No, I think it was after the pandemic or after the break. But I could be wrong.
I remember it was a home game. I think I remember what you're talking about.
Pizzi always has the best segments on.
Bill, what do you? We got so unraveled in this conversation that we didn't even get your opinion.
Just sat back and enjoyed.
What do you add to this?
Just watch the fight. No, I mean, I'm like in the middle between what Oscar's take and Kenny's take. Like, I think we can all agree. Like, I think after what happened with JJ and the bust up, I think Rui had to do something, and he got rid of the manager. And I think we all probably saw this coming, where he was gonna get rid of Pizzi. I'm actually a little surprised that he ended up in Turkey. I figured he would have gone to Qatar,
no markets open. Oh, true. Maybe in
Qatar is still open. Like all those markets are still open, but I think the writing was on the wall when kind of the whole bust up with JJ happened, and Rui Costa came out and kind of confirmed everything that had been reported. I also think it's funny that like Oscar tries to bash on the reports, but these are the reports that have sources that are getting scutas from government agencies. They have their sources. Like some of these reports, like Kenny said, some of the reports may be exaggerated a little bit, but there's like truth to some of these. Like I 100% believe that these guys have sources all over the place. They may exaggerate it a bit, but I do think there's truth to it. And like I've said before, if there's smoke, there's fire. Like there's been so many reports of, and then not just Pizzi, but like Jason said, Andre Almeida and Rafa have been the main ones. There's been so many reports of it that there has to be some truth in it. And I think Benfica has a long road ahead. I think this is the first step. I think we have to do a major clear out. I think there's not just players. I think there's some staff there that probably should be cleared out, and like a big reset. And this is probably the first step to it.
Can I ask a question for you guys? And do you guys like having all those people on the fucking bench, like Louis Down and like everybody? Like I hate it.
I was gonna say that there's definitely leaks that need to be found and get rid of. You know, there's leaks in the,
because there's too, like you said, like exactly. There's too many heads, and then there's always bound to be a leak in or something. But
there's a leak because we allow it, right? Like you don't see any of this shit at Porto. You don't see any of this shit at Sporting, right? Like historically, that's been Benfica's problem. Like I don't know how it's done internally. Like I don't know if it's purposely leaked. I don't know if they know who the leak is and they just don't address it. But for how many years has this been a problem? Like everything that happens in Benfica ends up outside, right? You don't hear about shit like this at Porto, right? I don't know if it's because they control, the media. I don't know, right? Like I don't know what the issue, right? Like we can only make assumptions, but that's been, since I can remember, that's always been something that's been associated to Benfica, right? And in turn, right, it generates money, right? It generates clicks. It generates sales of newspapers, right? So that could be one of the drivers. But is your question, Jay, in regards to the amount of people?
No, like
just the people.
I just hate like when especially when they're arguing a foul or something, like the whole bench clears and it's just like how many people fit in that fucking bench? Like it's crazy. Like
that's the Portuguese culture, and unfortunately, as they say, right, if you can't beat them, join them. Right, like I feel like unfortunately, and Joaninha says it here, right? We need, as sad as it sounds, we need a Pinto da Costa type president in this. And Kenny said it too, right? Like you need to have that mindset sometimes.
Hey, if I'll take all this controversy if we're winning championships. I don't give a shit if there's controversy within the team as long as we're winning championships. But if we're fucking a joke and there's all this controversy and we're fighting for third place, then fuck that. Then yeah, clean the house and figure out the situation. But yeah, I'll if we're winning championships, this is a mute point. We're all just like, whatever. This is just noise. This is they hate us because they ain't us.
Look at Porto,
right?
for how many years?
Exactly.
Right? Like, we complained about it as outsiders, right? But Porto fans, and we have friends that are Porto fans, are like, yep, okay, yep. Next year we'll win it again.
Kenny just said a Patriots saying. Make sure you clip that. Make sure you clip that.
Just one thing to Oscar's point about he thinks Pizzi comes back. You know, I personally don't think he does, but I know that this is a loan. There's no option, right? He might end up coming back, but I don't think that he
does. But I think he leaves.
What's his contract like?
I think he comes back
next year.
I think he comes back and they probably like rescind with him and he goes somewhere else.
I don't see him coming back. He gets like a farewell of some sort, and
I don't see him coming back and playing.
Oh no, his contract expires this summer, June 30th.
So he's a free agent.
Hold on. No, sorry. His loan expires this summer. His Benfica contract ends next June. But I would be very surprised if he comes back and stays. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and they find a better option for him this summer and he moves on. And I'm going to predict he comes back. They have an interview like they had with Feja where they ask him about his time at Benfica and they send him off that way. That's my prediction.
With Nico Gaeta.
Dude, so I forget who it was. Someone made the comment that like we suck at our farewells.
Joel, before he went to sleep.
And Real does the same thing. Like all their legends never get like a farewell fucking game.
We're bad. Benfica's terrible at cutting cycles.
So bad.
That part I think it sucks. It's like as a fan, you like to see those.
I mean, if we really dig into it, don't you think you could find examples on every team? I'm sure Porto.
Oh, yeah.
There's some teams that do it. Like,
100%.
That do it well. Like Barca, dude. Barca does it.
Correct. But think about like
every legend that leaves that club gets like
the last one
gets their like farewell game.
Rui Costas, wasn't it?
Because I mean, I could put just as many names that got good farewells just on
And Joan says Louison. Louison didn't get a farewell. He got a farewell of a bunch of people in seats in an empty stadium.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even a game. Gaetan got his last game. I think it was away to Marítimo. He got pulled off before the end of the game, and he started crying on the bench. And that was his. I think it was an away game. I remember, and I remember he was crying on the bench, and they took him off late in the game. But that was his last game. But yeah, I agree. Benfica's terrible at cutting cycles.
You gonna ask that question?
What question?
You starred.
Yeah. Quickly before we jump off, if you guys could bring one person back to Benfica, former player or manager, to kind of be, I'm assuming that's what Diogo was asking here, from Benfica's past, who would it be? Jay, I'll start with you.
João Vieira Pinto.
Okay. Bill?
Like to play, like
no, not to play, to like have a function within the infrastructure.
I would change that.
JVP is a good one because he's part of the Seleção.
He is.
I don't think he would leave the Seleção though.
Yeah.
Bill, who would you pick?
I would go with Amad. I'll answer.
Yeah, I was leaning that as well, but I like the Louison thing where like someone that has been there for a long time and can like impose the mystica that we all fucking love to say, but like kind of bring some of the history to these new players. I think it would need to be a player like that. I would love to see like a Mentorres back in the fucking mix.
But he's around the club anyways.
Or like Nuno Gomes.
You spoke very well the other day.
Nuno Gomes was there, and then he ended up leaving. I think he had a disagreement.
And Louison's there, and he kind of has that function, and hasn't gone well so far for him. I would say Perdão Homem.
He's a director of sports, or he might be president now. Stade Liège.
Stade
Liège, yeah. That's a good take. It's a good, very good take. Oscar, who would you?
Left field, I like it.
I think, can I bring somebody from the dead?
No.
Go for it.
I not because that's what I mean. As somebody like that, like I'll bring back somebody that can express the music of Benfica. I'll bring somebody like Marty Wilson or a Shalana, or somebody that can
Shalana's not dead.
I know, but Marty Wilson.
Marty Wilson's a good take.
Yeah, but Shalana type of guy that can go and be like, this is what Benfica is all about. These players come in and they think it's like they wear a shirt and they get paid $1 billion and then they go home and to their hot wives, right? It's like they don't have the music anymore. We just had the interview the other day with what's his
Carlos
name?
Manuel.
Carlos Manuel, and you heard him talking, and he was like, he talked about the mystic of Benfica, what he played, what it meant to him to play at Benfica, and now nowadays everything is given to these players, and they don't appreciate it. It's like,
dude, he was like, even if I'm playing bad, I give him my all, like I'm
100%, and
you don't see that.
He says something about before you go home, shower, to eat and stuff like that. Now the players don't even have to. He goes, if I had with the conditions that Benfica has now, I would never leave the stadium. I will stay there, take showers, eat, sleep, and like now it's like everything they take it for granted. And we need that kind of mentality back in the locker room where somebody can express to them what it means to be a Benfica.
Too, what I would add to that is even the homegrown players, right? They go through the Seychelles. I mean, those kids, they probably live a better life than
if they're living at the Seychelles like that.
Oh, 100%.
And you would assume that they're brought up with that mystica, but I don't think so. I think they're right. They're like the minute they get to the professional level.
Look, you see João Felix on the field. He looks like he doesn't have to try. It's like I'm a golden boy. I don't have to try.
Some mimados their whole fucking career before they're even professionals. So it sucks.
But it also depends on the player, right? Like,
yeah, Ruben Diaz went through the same thing, and
you can teach them as much as you want, right? But if they don't care to learn it, right? Like Carlos Manuel made a good point, right? Like there's a lot of players that don't know who Shalena is, right? Some of the youth players or even the players in the A team. So I think it comes down to the player. My player who I would bring back or personality would be Shell. Shell played a huge part in Benfica over the years, and ever since he left, I feel like we've unraveled as well. He was a big presence, a big leader. Carlos Manuel had very high praises to say about him. And I think
Luizão were tight.
They were. And he was very tight with the team and the players. You could see after games and celebrations. So he would be my
Where'd he go?
He stepped away. I mean, he's part of he's around the club, but he doesn't have any functions anymore. That's a guy that's given 50 years to the club as a player, as a funcionario. So that would be my take.
I think there's a picture floating around Facebook with all of us hanging out with him.
Oh yeah, I have one when we met him. He's
January?
one of my targets. He's one of my targets to get for Mo Benfiquismo. Quickly to wrap up, you guys want to talk about Benfiquismo and passing that along to the formation? I don't know if you guys saw it, but there is a reportage from Jaime Graça on Benfica's website, 40 minutes, really good video that talks about how he molded Bruno Lage, how he molded Renato Paiva, how he basically built up the Seychelles, and how he implemented the mindset of you need to know who Benfica is and what the past was for you to become an established player here. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend anyone going to check it out. Really good. It aired last week. So Jaime Graça reportage, check it out. It's on Benfica's website. I know we're over here. Shout out to everyone that was in the chat. Mike Da Silva, Joaninho was on there. João's sleeping by now. Biggie, Coach, Diogo. Thank you guys for taking part in the conversation.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining.
For those of you who are listening after the fact, again, don't forget to share, like, subscribe. Those of you watching before you sign off, share, like, subscribe. We will be back next week after the Santa Clara game. We will be back tomorrow with the Portuguese podcast with the other group of guys to talk about these similar topics, but with different opinions. Gentlemen, for you guys, as always, a pleasure. Thank you for taking part in this. We will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
boys. Good night, boys.